This is the big one, Harry. A federal judge just issued a permanent injunction finding summary judgment against Donald Trump on his unlawful executive orders targeting a law firm, Perkins Coie. This is part of Donald Trump's series of executive orders attacking law firms, some awful law firms, traitorous law firms, at least in my opinion, submitted, they kissed the ring, and they tapped out. But there were firms that fought back, like Perkins Coie. And all the firms that fought back have won, but this is the big win, the big kahuna, the permanent injunction, the Perkins Coie kahuna. The judge here, Judge Beryl Howell, says the following. These words are so powerful, I just got to read them. I can't paraphrase them. You wouldn't want me to paraphrase them. Judge Beryl Howell says, no American president has ever before issued executive orders like the one at issue in this lawsuit, targeting a prominent law firm with adverse actions to be executed by all executive branch agencies. But in purpose and effect, this action draws from a playbook as old as Shakespeare, who penned the phrase, quote, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. Citation, William Shakespeare, Henry VI, Part 2, Act 4, Scene 2, line 75, page 1.
Donald Trump just got legally obliterated. A federal judge just slapped down his executive order in a ruling so savage, she quoted Shakespeare to bury him. You heard that right. This wasn't just a technical rejection. This was a historic humiliation. Trump tried to weaponize the government against Perkins Coie, a prominent law firm, because they dared represent causes he doesn't like. The judge, Beryl Howell, and she didn't hold back. She called Trump's actions unconstitutional, un-American, and something no president has ever done before. This wasn't about policy. This was about pure revenge. And the court just told him, you don't get to rule like a king in America.
When Shakespeare's character, a rebel leader intent on becoming king, hears this suggestion, he promptly incorporates this tactic as part of his plan to assume power, leading in the same scene to the rebel leader demanding, quote, away with him, referring to an educated clerk who, quote, can make obligations and write court hand. Eliminating lawyers as the guardians of the rule of law removes a major impediment to the path to power. The importance of independent lawyers to ensuring the American judicial system's fair and impartial administration of justice has been recognized in this country since its founding era. In 1770, John Adams made the singularly unpopular decision to represent 8 British soldiers charged with murder for their roles in the Boston Massacre, and, quote, claimed later to have suffered the loss of more than half his practice. Quote, I had no hesitation, he explained, since, quote, counsel ought to be the very last thing that an accused person should want in a free country, and, quote, the bar ought to be independent and impartial at all times and in every circumstance, end quote. When the Bill of Rights was ratified, these principles were codified in the Constitution. The Sixth Amendment secured the right in, quote, all criminal prosecutions to, quote, have the assistance of counsel for defense. And the Fifth Amendment protected, quote, the right to the aid of counsel when desired and provided by the party asserting the right. This value placed on the role of lawyers caught the attention of Alexis de Tocqueville, who, in reflecting on his travels throughout the early United States in 1831 and 1832, insightfully remarked, quote, the authority entrusted to members of the legal profession is the most powerful existing security against the excesses of democracy. That's an opening, Harry. Then she goes on to write 102 more pages and then concludes that Trump has already lost this case, permanent injunction, the executive order is declared invalid, a grand slam for Perkins Coie. What do you make of it, Harry? You've been following these cases very closely.
Let's be crystal clear. Trump lost hard. This was summary judgment. That means the judge said, you don't even get a trial. You're so wrong, it's not worth the court's time. That's the legal equivalent of getting thrown out of the ring before the bell even rings. And it wasn't just some solo win. Perkins Coie had the backing of 500 law firms, plus a brutal brief by a former Solicitor General. The legal community rallied together to say, this is a threat to democracy. Why? Because when you attack lawyers for doing their job, you're not just hitting them, you're attacking the rule of law itself. Trump went after them for defending Democrats. And the court just told him, this is America. You don't get to erase the Constitution because you're mad someone challenged you.
I used to be a baseball reporter. That hasn't come up yet because this is a grand slam out of the damn park into the water where people paddle to get the ball. She totally slams them. I'll just add the point you made. You said at the end, but this is how the case opened. This is how it started. When you're, running to see an opinion, which way it came out when it starts, no American president has ever, et cetera, that you're in a world of hurt. But it matters a lot. What she tried to do, it's a great brief there. Perkins Coie's had all kinds of help from within the profession. It's been the number one example in contrast to the Paul Weisses and the Skadden Arps of the world, where the firms have come together. 500 firms signed a letter and in their support. And the former Solicitor General, Don Verrilli, wrote a killer brief. And this is what Howe, I think, is very clearly doing in that opinion. There's many ways. We talk all the time, and I know listeners have become used to this notion of standing and a personal injury. And they've claimed many constitutional violations. Howe goes for all of them, and some of them are direct. You're hurting our livelihood, and of course they are. That's the whole purpose of the order. You can't have security clearances. You can't get in. But bigger than that, and this is really the refrain she sounds from Shakespeare on up, you're hurting society. Lawyers play an essential role in the adversary system. That means in the settlement of disputes. That means in understanding what is true and what is false. So, for example, one of the claims they make, and they do have standing to make it under established law, is you are violating the Sixth Amendment because you are keeping other people from having counsel of their choice. They might want to have Perkins Coie, but now because of this unconstitutional order, they think, I guess I have to steer away. It's as if Perkins Coie isn't even there. And by the way, for what sin? What has Perkins Coie did? Not even the lawyers there now, but lawyers who used to be there represented Democratic causes. It's such naked kind of reprisal. But the point you made, and if you go through, it's a very methodical 102-page opinion. It totally clobbers them. And as you say, really matters. This is summary judgment. Game's over. I don't care what you have to say. It doesn't matter what the facts are. No discovery. You have friggin' lost, because you are wrong under the Constitution. 6 ways to Sunday. And this is just the point you make that I want to echo and that resonates. What you've done here, Mr. President, who's never done it before, is not only get at your enemies in the law firms, you are harming society. You're harming the whole important function that lawyers play. That's what she means by quoting starting with Shakespeare, going to de Tocqueville. You are really in your petty desire to get back at people who've done nothing wrong other than what John Adams did, right? They've represented people who've done nothing wrong. You're not just jerk off that you are hurting them. You're hurting all of us. Summary judgment. Good night. Get out of here. Now, this will go up on appeal. We'll see what happens. But this is a final decision now. Unlike everything else where it's been temporary and the administration has said, oh, put the brakes on while it's decided, this is done. We'll see what the DC Circuit does with this. And it could well be that the Supreme Court doesn't even take it.
This ruling doesn't just hit Trump. It exposes everything wrong with his approach to power. He doesn't want fair fights. He wants to punish, control, and silence. But this time, the law punched back hard. Judge Howell shut it all down. No loopholes, no maybes, just a full-on rejection of Trump's abuse of power. And while Trump might try to appeal, this is already a massive blow. It's permanent, it's on record. And it proves once again, no matter how loud he shouts or how many enemies he makes, the Constitution still stands in his way. Like, subscribe and stay locked in, because the takedowns are just getting started.